new entrepreneurship loan for forward young children. Reduce cost by the technology, that means, now age is technology age. And first time in Grameen Bank, we introduced village phone in the rural areas for income generating purposes to the rural women. And nowadays, everyone has a mobile phone, so they lost their job. So that's why they divert it for different packages, like as rockets, Vikas, internet packages. We have also 262 data management center, and all of our activities is computerized based and internal software as well. This software also replicated in other countries for microfinance replication. And we are going to stop the cash handling for recovery, and already 3 companies are showing interest and doing the pilot project. Hopefully next 3 years we will go to the stop for manual loan collection. Social audit. That means we believe that the family atmosphere with Grameen and borrowers will be good. So from the beginning, we have a system decision. 1984, we developed this system decision, and it is 90% common of the SDG. And according to system decision, we try to understand what levels our borrowers are staying. They are poverty or under the poverty. As per the 10 indicators, we try to understand about the poverty level. About 68% of the Grameen Bank borrowers, those who are 5 years with Grameen, they are now out of the poverty line as per the 10 indicators. Nowadays, 9 million families start with the Grameen, and Grameen methodology starts with the 205 million families in the world, according to the statistics of the Microcredit Summit 2012. Challenges. Still, dropout is one of the challenges. Digital transformation of cash collection, because we are trying to stop this, but we are also thinking that if we introduce the cash handling by digital transformation, what will be the form of the center meetings, and we are thinking for redesign it. Migration from village to city, it is one of the challenges for us, and developing of the loan. Our recommendation: ensure low-cost microfinance by all the microfinance institutions, then the whole family can afford the low-cost microfinance. Easy microfinance access, that is low processing time and easy to borrowing loan by other microfinance institutions. More socio-economic development program, that means children, their health, their insurance, their education as well as introduced to the microfinance program as well. An effective use of national ID, if we can ensure that for your question.
Thank you. Our next paper is ensuring inclusion of persons with disabilities through financial inclusion, an experimental study in Chattogram. This is presented by Mohammad Arifur Rahman, Chief Executive, UFCA Chattogram.
Good morning. This is Mohammad Arifur Rahman. I work with foreign guests and all participants in this session. Good morning. I welcome you all to my presentation, Financial Inclusion Enabling Piggyback Primary Health Care Services and
education support through financial inclusion. Our premise is financial inclusion is key to dynamics that goes a long way to liberate and enable the individual and institutions to initiate growth, development, and desired change. And here I want to say a few words about Paulo Freire. He has said that the ontological and historical vocation of mankind is their liberation. So, with this perspective in mind, I want to say that financial inclusion is the enabler. Financial inclusion empowers financially included and enables access to financial services and organization to undertake planning and implementation of projects and programs aimed at sustainable human development. You know, CDIP, a non-government organization and also MFI, is working without taking any foreign donation since its inception. And through the financial inclusion, it has become successful by now. It has become self-reliant by now, and it is implementing not only the financial services for the poor, rather it is implementing some other projects and programs which are contributing towards sustainable human development. Here we have utilized the inductive reasoning with empirical evidence from CDIP that financial services for inclusion with piggyback structure enables an organization to launch projects and programs for sustainable human development. The overall purpose of this study is to explore how financial inclusion and its expanded coverage enable an organization to implement piggyback primary health care and education support services for sustainable human development goals of the organized group members, their families, as well as the others in the community, particularly the poor, marginalized, and disadvantaged women and children. The specific objectives of this study is to examine how financial inclusion at recipients' end in the community, facilitated by a responsible, legal, legitimate, and socially acceptable delivering organization, enables it to plan and implement other essential programs and projects necessary for sustainable human development. The study, the organization structure for piggybacking the implementation of other essential projects and programs for sustainable human development. Another specific objective is to examine the financial sustainability aspects of essential other projects and programs, and finally, develop an emergent model based on the concept. Our methodology is simple, it's a qualitative methodology, and we have included observation, orientation, key informants, focus group discussion, case studies, interviews, office document, and secondary data. A financial inclusion which I have said earlier, that it creates a dynamics. And we know that dynamics is the energy of force that produces motion in physical bodies. So financial inclusion, when covers anyone, and even if it covers the poor, then it creates some dynamics in him. That is, he is energized, she is energized to take some initiative, to do something, to become self-reliant, to come out from the trap of poverty. Financial inclusion serviced by CDIP, and we have said that CDIP is a MFI, it's an NGO, it started with providing financial service. So by financial inclusion, it has to date, that is April 2019, it has covered 223,700 adults. And types of services are organizing group members into credit groups, serving as collateral for credit. And another important thing, that is non-government organization and MFI is doing, that is when the poor or disadvantaged people are organized into some groups, they serve not only as collateral, rather these groups become social capital, because the divergent poor people come into some group and they create some relationship, they trust one another, and that helps them in the time of distress to utilize that capital to overcome the problem. And also collecting savings, providing them with different types of credit, microcredit, agricultural credit, micro enterprise credit, financial counseling, and remittance delivery. This inclusion of its organized group members has enabled them, along with other community people, to make easy access to primary health care and education programs, along with other related programs. The number of, for the health program, the number of SECMOs, that is, we have got 100 SECMOs employed in different branches under supervision of a qualified doctor. And annual service fees is only 200 taka. That is, if we calculate this amount by dividing borrower and other members of his family, that is, if we take 5 members, then per day health coverage takes only 11 paisa. So by spending 11 paisa, they are getting health coverage for the whole year, every day for the whole year. Okay, then 2 minutes. That is, we have said that in our innovation, there is the piggyback structure. Piggyback, that CD has got one functional structure, but for the programs, that is the health program and education program, it is the advocacy. And this advocacy is utilizing the structure developed to deliver financial services to the poor. And the emergent model is, that is, if there is financial inclusion with the piggyback structure to deliver other services, that is education support program, health support program, and related other programs, means that is a modern school, solar, and such other activities. So finally, I want to conclude that financial inclusion services or NGOs in Bangladesh can enable them to plan and implement their other core sustainable human development programs. The functional structure can be devised to be capable of providing piggyback structural facility to implement their sustainable human development programs, like the ones primary health care, education support, and other related projects and programs aimed at enhancing the capability of the financially included other community people. This presentation with some words from Amartya Sen. That is, he has said that freedom is development. And if freedom is development, there are two types of freedom. That is instrumental freedom and also constitutive freedom. Instrumental freedom includes political participation, economic facilities, then social opportunities, transparency guarantee, and also security protection. And the constitutive freedom includes substantive freedom, that is freedom from deprivation, that is malnutrition, hunger, and also freedom from escapable morbidity and also premature death, and also other things, that is literacy and numeracy, by which one can enhance one's capability to function in the complex social system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our last presentation is indirect effect of water supply and sanitation on women entrepreneurs mediated by digital payment, a case study from Bangladesh. And this is by Mr. Anita Mani Chen and Mr. Sajid.
I hope you all will be with me for the next 7 minutes. I want to share with you guys one information. UNICEF, in a report, UNICEF said that women and girls in this world spend 200 million hours a day for collecting water. How about in Bangladesh? There are a lot of studies, and some estimation says it's near about 4 million hours a day. So, thinking about it, like how our ladies, our mothers, our sisters spending time that we say in economics unproductive, that in our GDP we don't calculate the contribution of our ladies in the household chores. So here my study is all about how water and sanitation actually impact the likelihood of women entrepreneurship, likelihood of being women entrepreneurs. As we are talking about financial inclusion, as we are talking about adoption of digital payment, we want to measure how this adoption of water and sanitation affect the likelihood of being women entrepreneur mediated by this adoption of digital payment. Meaning that digital payments affect likelihood of women entrepreneurship, but there is the in middle, in between the input and the output. Output is what the likelihood of being a women entrepreneur. So I work for Waterwork. Waterwork provides financial tools. It provides financial assistance that helps underprivileged people to avail water and sanitation loans by the help of, right now in Bangladesh, through microfinance institutions. So, my objective is to explore the perceived benefits of TFS-led water sanitation lending. and then to identify the amount of time and money saved. As we have always said, the digital payments save money. Digital payments allows people to save time. So we don't know how much time or how much money they are able to save because of adopting this digital payments. What we did is we did a pilot with one MFI in outskirts of Dhaka City. There were two options. One is to collect, to repay their installments through MFS agent, or we can say Vikas agent or Rocket agent. And some people, some borrowers, women borrowers, they could pay directly through their group center. I'm very thankful that our one friend from Grameen Bank, that they were thinking of digitizing their payments. So they are facing the challenges. There are a lot of considerations if we want to adopt the digital payments. We want to cover these issues here. We collected the stories of women. We collected data from these women borrowers who are doing business. Some are not doing business. So we want to actually measure we want to measure the time and money saved by adopting digital payments. And also, if there is a causal link in between the adoption of water supply and sanitation and the likelihood of being women entrepreneur, there will be a mediation in the middle. There is the adoption of digital payments. So I did use a structural equation model. I'm not going in details for it. It's just this is direct impact. When we say C, there is direct impact. The inputs that we are considering, the benefits, the perceived benefits of digital payments, the perceived benefits of water and sanitation. So how does it affect the likelihood of being women entrepreneur? How would, if we think digital payment is a mediation, how these inputs affect the likelihood of being women entrepreneur through this adoption of digital payments? So I use this structural equation modeling. There is a very fancy equation here. However, I think I need to talk something about the process that I adopted in conducting this study. Very first, to calculate the indirect effect, we need to construct some equations. That is structural equation. However, there is a lot of perceived benefits. How this our borrowers, women borrowers, perceive about the adoption of digital payments. How they think, like there is a choice whether they can adopt the digital payment or they can go to group center, like in conventional MFI. So how they are saving from adopting digital payments. So there is a lot of perceptual benefits. So we use Likert scale. We put a couple of statements. We measure their perceptions. But there is a lot of statements. I need to use some statistical method, which is principal component analysis, to get a smaller variable. So there were more than 12 Likert items. Using this PCA, principal component analysis, I get it smaller in three variables. But I put a name using the theory of 5 big personality traits. So I use this theory here. I apply all the characteristics of the personality traits here. So I put these inputs, all these inputs like the perceptual benefits, and then the time saving, and then money saving, and then the adoption of digital payments. And I try to measure the impact of the inputs over this likelihood of being women entrepreneur. The very interesting thing is, whenever we are talking about the benefits of digital payments, the choice in between a group center and then MFS agent or Vikas agent, my finding says that the time saving that is not statistically significant. I found it's only 1.39 minutes. They save time in every transaction in in a whole year, it's only 10 hours. So there is other, what I say, lot of other findings, but I want to share just one thing. That is the education, the impact of education. That was another factor. The impact of education is very high, and that it says households with women completed high school are 26% higher than their counterparts who did not complete high school. So there is kind of, whenever we say total factor productivity of the country, of GDP, always we say education is the major impact on that in total factor productivity. So the study says a very similar thing. So here is a very interesting thing. Is MFIs, a lot of MFIs are thinking of adopting digital repayment system. So there were a couple of statements, couple of perceived benefits, how borrowers perceive about the benefits of digital payments. But the data shows that near about 6% respondents say they don't welcome it in a good way. So only 20%, more or less 20%, they welcome the adoption of these digital payments. So this is kind of something that we need to think. I mean, as MFIs have a lot of strength in comparison to the operation of banks. So in terms of labor participation, in terms of non-performing loans, repayment rate, and in terms of everything, they are doing really good for the people. So as you are working for the people, so there is a lot of things that we need to consider. There is a lot of challenges we need to cover before adopting it. So as there are a lot of things we need to say, but there is a couple of things that we need to think about. This is all the perceptions of these women borrowers. With regards to the inputs, which inputs are more significantly impact the likelihood of women entrepreneurs? My finding says that agreeableness, that is the one kind of personality trait. What are the factors of agreeableness? We said the sense of comfort, the time saving, money saving, all this into entrepreneur mediated by this digital payments. And also there is one very strong impact of joblessness, adoption of joblessness, that is water supply incineration. We cannot think, we cannot imagine how a woman can avoid the needs for water in the family. We gentlemen, we never think about how much time our ladies are spending collecting water. We don't think about how much importance that they are putting, how much time they are investing in the family. So that's why whenever they get the facility, water supply and sanitation facility, the self-managed facility, they have the time. They can invest this time in productive works in terms of development of entrepreneurship. That's very strong indirect effect over what I say likelihood of being women entrepreneur. So I'm going to finish, by the way. So there is a couple of calculations. I'm not going in details, but there is some limitations. We did this study in the outskirts of the Dhaka city that really less likely represent the overall country. So we need to, I think, extend, or we need to do the same study maybe in different area of the country that will represent the whole system, I mean the country. So at the end, my request is, why not we think about the factors which really affect the development, the likelihood of being women entrepreneurs. As we're talking about the development of the country, without avoiding the importance of water and sanitation, without avoiding the importance of these women in contributing to the development of the country, we cannot have a holistic development in the country. So that's the end. I'm saying, why not we can think to work together to provide a self-managed water and sanitation facility for the women, for the country, for the underprivileged people. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 4 very interesting presentations. Now we have three learned panelists. Unfortunately, our time is very limited, so I would request the panelists to limit their interventions maybe within 5-6 minutes. So, we will start with Ms. Claire Ian. She is senior strategist in Water Corp.
We're here. I'm here. Okay. We're going to do it this way. I'm going to be really laser focused with you. I'm not going to read a paper. I didn't rewrite what they wrote, right? So I'm going to give some commentary that I found very exciting or thought-provoking or confirming, so from different perspectives. First, one of the things I really enjoyed about the CDIP paper and presentation was the twofer. I call it a 2-for-1, right? You've got an MFI model and a wraparound, or what they call piggyback. In the US, we usually call it wraparound services. So you are also an implementer. That just makes so much sense to me. You have a profitable organizational design and business model, and you're utilizing that for your mission as an NGO and able to be an implementer simultaneously. So I really like that design. I would say that from experience, you need to really pay attention to the business side of that and not get too lost in the social good of the NGO side, because there sometimes is an factor that can cloud decision making on the business side, and in order for you to be successful, you have to maintain that profitability and that good business acumen. That's one thought. Okay. Whoops, I'm going to lose my thoughts. Thank you very much. Well, Grameen model. I mean, who doesn't know about the success of this model for a very long time? So I'm partial, we're water.org, and we pioneered water credit, which is microcredit lending for water and sanitation, off of the early designs of the Grameen Bank. So I'm partial to that, and but I'm not recusing myself from a few more comments. I think that the shareholder membership receiving dividends is just fundamentally right, good business. I'm also really partial to maintaining reasonable interest rates. I think we have to be conscionable and responsible and make every effort in the industry to keep interest rates at a reasonable pace for borrowers. And that's, as many said this morning, that's really very much determined in part by technology and how we're using digital transformation to keep transactions costs as low as possible. Okay. I would say that I was excited to see as much water and sanitation lending under the Grameen model, and I would throw out more of a provocative challenge to Grameen, and that is the classification of what is income generating is an enormous problem and barrier for having equity in water and sanitation and leaving no one behind for the 2030 agenda. Because water and sanitation loans are a fundamental service of financial inclusion, and the restriction that they of not being income generating means that we are constantly facing ceilings and barriers. So I want you to really look at the power of how loans can be income enabling. And there was digital transformation mentioned many times today. I think that what this offers the sector is an imperative to create more collaboration and collective impact, shared, multi-stakeholder partnerships in order to crack that nut of how do we make faster digital transformation that enables us to keep our costs down and interest rates lower. Thank you.
Our next panelist is Dr. M. Musliuddin Sadiq, Director, INM.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Chair and learned panelists and the presenters and our Honorable Chair, person of INM, Dr. Q.K. Ahmed sir, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. So first I start with Mr. Murshid of Grameen model, and you know the theme is that innovative models and approaches for financial inclusion and success cases. This is the theme of this session. So he has very nicely presented the cost effectiveness, sustainability and financial inclusion of the Grameen model. And we know that interestingly the Grameen model is being replicated across the globe and also in the country. But the thing is that one issue what is came in mind that now dual dimensions are on board, you know. Suppose that we are telling about appropriate finance, we are telling about finance for human dignity, and Grameen, you know that they are also running by the borrower's deposit, you know, and all other banks also running with the borrower's deposit mainly. But new products should come up if we say the financial inclusion issues. What our honorable board member Dr. Tawfiq was telling in a few days ago in a channel 24 that only we are relying on deposit. Why don't we come up with the certificates? Why don't we borrow the Euro fund or the commercial paper and so on like that, you know? So we should go for different new products, you know, so that when we are talking about financial inclusion, this thing should be come up in mind, you know. And another paper with Shahjahan Bhai was telling with CDIP, this piggyback primary healthcare and education support service. Yes, they are doing very well, and the thing is that the successful cases should be replicated. Otherwise, we can't say that it's a successful one. And I can see that Yahya Bhai also, he was very keen to see the presentation, and I was looking in his face. So I would rather request the presenter and also the city is a very, laudable organization that what they made, the symbiosis of financial inclusion and human dividend program for sustainable human development, that should be replicated in his project or elsewhere so that this learning could disseminate elsewhere. And Water on, they have presented a very nice paper, and this digital payment, but the thing is that they have made experiment in the outskirts of Dhaka city, you know, and the savings of time is what is written is 11.39 minutes in one time per week, you know, because not going to the center, they are going by digital payment. But you have to, I say, the trade-off between the two things. If you go to the center, there are other learnings are there, you know, education, health, family planning, and so on. If you make a digital payment only saving 11.39 minutes, then there is a very big portion mark, you know. So I rather request the researcher, you go to the coastal area, especially Borishal, Jhalokati, this area. The women, they have to travel more than half a day to bring the potable water. So that will, I think, give you an idea that how the women are spending their days and so on. But it's a very nice paper, but I think more researchers are needed to validate the statement here, because globally in African countries there is different scenario. In Bangladesh also it's different scenario, especially in the coastal belt. So it's a very nice paper, and I think in future they will do more academic research and come up with their proposition. And Arif Bhai is also nicely presented the paper, and Shita Gundo, they are doing this disability thing. But I would rather request not to tell disabled people. We must say differently able people. That's a great thing, because because they are able people, but they are differently able. Even they are blind, they are differently able. They can do something. So I will rather request the author and the organization that from now on, let us say those people as a differently able people. And here is also thing is that the replicability is also one big question mark, because the program started in 2015. It's run very well, and he has done a great job. But the thing is that in our country, what you see that the program runs very well when the people like you and us behind this program. When we draw, then it starts. So when you are doing this very excellent program, let you check in your geographical area, also in other areas, so that we sustain in the long run when your and our support is not there. I think I have covered all the authors' presentation, and I hope that there will be a happy marriage between all the findings, so that Bangladesh can run with all these findings in other areas. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Our
Next panelist is Mr. Nasim Hassan Sarkar, he's General Manager, SCB Foundation.
Assalamu alaikum. In fact, my manual lecture is social Islam. You are supposed to attend, but there is another official like board meeting he couldn't attend, and so I'm representing him. And I feel that it's a great opportunity for me, because I have come and got learned lots of new issues. In fact, my experience is in banking, in commercial banking, central banking, organized investment banking. But I feel that the title of the today's seminar, that is innovative models and approaches for financial inclusion and success cases. I strongly feel that it is very much important issue for ensuring financial inclusion. If you really want to ensure financial inclusion, we have to develop new models, and we have to develop innovative models. And that must be beneficiary or target group friendly. If we see that who are the major players in financial services, banks and MFIs, but are they really beneficiary or target group friendly? I think consider review or revisit it. If we, in case of banks, there is still corporate focus. There is still collateral-based, dependent collateral. They don't like to provide loan without collateral. Yes, they have numbers of programs, but to me, that is for mainly the compliance of the central bank. But they are not, in fact, interested for funding to these poorest, low-level people. And also, with regards to MFIs, I think that they have been struggling in different ways. They are still dependent on PTSF for the funding, and they have to charge high rate, which is a very big deal. So I think new financial models, new financial products, new financial players as well, I think should be developed for ensuring access to finance, particularly for the poor. In today's paper, I found some issues like cost effectiveness and sustainability in paper 1. I think it's very much important if suppose we have created financial products and made available financial products for the poor, but if that is not affordable and that is not friendly to the poor, it will not be that. So I think for financial inclusion, The financial services must be cost effective and must be affordable to the, and also must be continued. Without continuation, after some time it is stopped and like it is used. And also some other papers like persons who are differently able or women, they are in our country, they are still not advantaged group, they are still less advantaged. We should also